the Kaisa has been the go-to for both of them, but we actually get to see the Nocturne.
Interesting to see Nocturne locked in so early on in the draft here, and it's going to be answered with an Olaf. I'm a little surprised not to see Wei going for the Lillia. It's something that he's really leaned on this split, but the Kaisa immediately locked in for Gala, comfortably his best AD carry.
I think RNG are feeling really comfortable with this draft so far. Olaf going to do fine if EDG decide to put Nocturne in the jungle role, which in their last series against FPX, they actually did first pick this in Game 5. They did end up putting it in the jungle. This time around, though, we're clearly seeing it is going to be a flex for the solo laners. We've seen Flandre pull it out once before. We haven't seen Scout pick it up yet this split. And the expected answer, AD carry for AD carry, also does go through.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that Nocturne top lane that we've seen has, generally speaking, and I am generalizing here, it's been a bit of an answer to the Gnar pick. So I'm wondering if that's EDG saying, hey, Xiaohu, you can't pick that Gnar that you're so likely to go for. We've seen him blind it a lot of times, like trying to pick this away instead of actually banning the champion itself.
The thing is, for RNG, I would like to see them just last pick top. Again, I feel like maybe you can assume that Flandre will be the one picking that up himself, but still, top lane counter pick, not even just for Xiaohu, but in general, feels much more solid to me. You have so many blindable mid champions that are able to come out. The Orianna is still left open. Cryine's whole champion pool is Orianna, Azir, and Viktor.
My theory's out the window anyway, because EDG banned Gnar, so all of that 5D chess I was trying to play is completely gone now anyway. Rel being banned by RNG. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Scout's champion pool, very much those control mages. But it's important to mention that in playoffs specifically, that feels like the story has changed with things like the Silas coming in.
Yeah, definitely more areas that he can index into. Now I'm really curious, specifically for EDG, where they will go with support. We know the big combo with Nocturne is obviously the Rel, which RNG already banned out. He dives in, you put the E on him, you get the instant stun followed by the fear. Now with a lot of these engaged champions gone, I think we can be looking towards something along the lines of a Leona. Maybe you can even go deeper down the pool and bring out another diving champion like the Set. So still some options left for EDG in the support role, but definitely no S-tier picks left available.
Yeah, we'll see. With the Nocturne and a Tristana, you'd expect at least something that can go deep. Maybe even like a Nautilus perchance, but not something we often see with that Tristana. We'll have to wait and see, though. Over to the side of RNG, is the Gragas being hovered. This could just be a blind top lane lock-in for Xiaohu, looking for the counter pick for Cryin instead.
Yeah, and, you know, if this does end up going against that Nocturne, I think it'll do fine in the laning phase. Gragas is a pretty good champion about having to not interact with the enemy laner. You do have a decent amount of wave clear, poke, sustain. You have mobility to dodge ganks. But again, we're now going to see Xiaohu on a champion that it isn't about getting that top lane advantage. It isn't about snowballing through top side. And they are putting more weight onto Gala's shoulders.
Feels like Gala has to be one of the players to step up. And when you think about the playoff series so far for RNG, they really have been leaning more into Gala being the premier carry as opposed to setting up Xiaohu in the top side. Now to the side of EDG, though, Scout goes with the Azir. It's something we've seen time and time again for him. He's an exceptional Azir player. And now down towards that support role. We mentioned how all of the hard engaged supports pretty much have been taken off the table aside from a couple of picks. And it's going to be the Galio locked in as well. So going for the counter engage as opposed to hard engage himself.
Still going to serve as that dive buddy along with the Nocturne. He also brings a good amount of lane prio into the bot side with his passive and his Q. Cryin rounding it out with the expected pick. He's been a big Viktor player all split long. I think when you look at the options he had available, almost all of them are immobile control mages coming out, so nothing that's really going to feel great going up against the comp that EDG have drafted. But hey, at least you do provide some zone control coming out with your gravity field. And I mean, this game is very straightforward on the side of RNG. They drafted this, you know, front to back team fight composition, more scaling oriented. I think you're looking for action to happen bot lane, especially to counteract the aggression that EDG will bring out. But EDG's comp is way more dynamic. Side lane pressure, dives, team fights, we get it all, Munchables.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting team to watch. That Galio Nocturne combo is terrifying. If Nocturne gets the fear down after jumping in, Galio has so much time to work with to fly across the map and power slam into the team. I'm real excited to witness how this comp is going to function. But importantly, a conversation we always bring up in the LPL. Ease of execution matters, and it feels like RNG have the simplest win condition.
Yeah, I mean, they group up as 5, they stand there, you throw out a Viktor laser, you throw out a Kaisa W, and, you know, you hope to find something, or you hope that EDG do run into you. The problem is, again, that with the paranoia coming out, they're always going to have an easy way of finding their way onto either Cryin or Gala. And you also just have a ton of like zone control, peel, and damage across all threats.
This is going to be a hype way to start off our series. It's EDG versus RNG, the ancient rivalry of the LPL here in the lower bracket. We are on to Summoner's Rift. The game is afoot. The lower bracket final begins now. It's EDG and RNG, the 2 most successful LPL orgs domestically of all time. And some of these players playing since 2015. That's a 6-year career within the LPL. And now, with a tied score in playoff series, a tied score in playoffs games at 12-12 between these organizations. This series will decide it all, Lyric.
It really will, and we're looking at a lot of these core members who step up, and, you know, we were highlighting veterancy coming in, and especially when we look at the side of EDG, Flandre, I think, is going to be a massive member who needs to be strong in this composition. Meiko also taking a proactive role with this Galio coming out. Ming on the opposite side is going to be the main engager, having to start up a lot of this action, and I'd really say counter the aggression coming out from EDG.
Yeah, so let's talk junglers quickly as we start this game off, because pathing obviously going to be very important. You can see Jiejie starting on his red buff, so very likely to path up towards that top side, which could be bad news for Xiaohu, because when you look statistically at the junglers in this league, Jiejie has the highest first blood percentage at 88.5%. Almost 90% of the games he's in, Jiejie is part of the first blood. So Xiaohu's got to be watching out in this early game.
Yeah, I feel like the big thing to watch is if Flandre will be able to get the wave pushed into tower and get that bounce back. Nocturne should be able to push against Gragas early. Your Q is actually on a shorter cooldown than his barrels. So he will have prio, he will be able to utilize that passive as well. But still, we already highlighted earlier, Gragas is a very safe champion, especially when you do pick up that phase rush as well. I think at worst, Xiaohu would probably only have to burn a flash, but both junglers pathing down towards the opposite sides of the map. With the lanes that EDG have drafted, they should be able to get prio in both sides, but I like that Wave's putting more attention down towards Gala and Ming.
Yeah, trying to set up Gala, and I think that's one of the most important things. And I think there's an important conversation to be had about the way that RNG have changed their style to play towards their AD carry. And I think, you know, it's very tempting to make a comparison to Uzi, right? But I want to be very clear that I don't think that the way RNG plays is that similar to the old style of Uzi, where they just funnel everything into the AD carry. Bit of a trade in the bottom side, but not too much going to come of it. While Gala is currently the premier carry on this RNG squad with how they've been playing in playoffs, it's not like a hyper funnel in the way that it was back when Uzi was playing on RNG.
Oh, definitely nowhere near the same thing. I mean, two very different players, right? Uzi known to be that demanding player who did call a lot on the side of RNG. And that's why, you know, a lot of us questioned RNG last year when he wasn't on the Rift.
He's not. He's okay. Cryin's going to be fine. Continue with your point.
Munchables, we have Viktor versus Azir. I think until level 6, we should be fine of any shenanigans, though I might be wrong, is now Ming is on our screen coming from a flank.
We highlighted him as a key player that wants to get out of the lane, but he's been spotted, and it means Gala's in trouble instead. Viper throws a bomb onto his head. He's going to have a little bit of a pop above him, but he's got his ear muffers on, so he's going to be all right on that one.
It does have a bit of a CS lead. Viper and Meiko did have to respect the fact that Lillia was pathing towards the top side early on. Also, Gala and Ming just got to start on the wave because they didn't have to leash, because Wade did start up towards his top camps. So nothing that unexpected coming out yet. When you look at these compositions anyway, I think for EDG, right, the big go button will come online at the level 6 mark when Flandre can keep up that push and start looking to roam more. Maybe look to set up a gank mid. You can have the Shurima shuffle come out from Scout. Flandre follow up with the Paranoia. Meiko can be there if he needs to be. And for RNG, I honestly feel like you're fine just getting down some defensive wards, shadowing your bot lane, helping them get a CS advantage, maybe start stacking some early dragons, and just letting your carries get the golden items they need.
Yeah, speaking of early dragons, first one coming up in about 10 seconds time. You can see Wei on that bottom side of the map. Scam. Oh, Viper actually gets his recall cancelled there. Nicely done by Gala. Viper was recalling on a ward, so he has to move a little bit further away. But look at that vision control that RNG have had in the bottom side of the jungle there. A ward at Raptors, a ward in the Tribrush as well. They will know for sure if EDG go anywhere near that Drake.
Ming made really good use of his earlier roam timing when he did hover mid, even if they didn't get anything out of that mid lane gank, getting a ton of vision down. And with the fact that Gala was able to deny that base, also going to deny, looks like 3 to 4 waves, actually the whole wave of golden experience as Meiko. Cryin is fine. Cryin is fine. I'm not going to keep getting baited by this Munchables.
Yeah, they keep on toying with the idea. Wei's on the Drake though right now. Meiko's moving over, but the Drake's taken. Looks like EDG would like to punish this one. Jiejie not level 6 just yet, but Scout is straight onto Ming. Flash available, gets over the wall to safety, but Jiejie follows for more. He's got it 1v3, and he sacrificed his life. Bit of an overstep from the EDG jungler, and now a TP comes in. RNG versus EDG has begun, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going all the way in favor of RNG, but they're stuck underneath the tower here. 1-for-1 in kills.
I mean, ultimately, right, RNG are the ones who pick up the dragon. It sure ends up going towards a 1-for-1, but your top laner is also catching EXP and gold on the top side to where Flandre is not getting anything right now. I would say the one silver lining for the side of RNG, for EDG, I'm sorry, is the fact that Gala doesn't have flash. So maybe going to be able to punish that one.
Yeah, I think the Chaos Storm being used there by Cryin just to try and force that wave in and get himself a reset off because he really needs to go back to base. But a little aggressive on the usage of the ult. So complete chaos for a second there. Ultimately, the Drake goes the way of RNG. Kill-wise, we're even. Gold-wise, we're even.
And we are going to go straight into the replay of what happened. RNG are the ones who pick up the Drake. They are just backing off, but still, Scout sees an opening to find this. Jiejie flashing over the wall, I think, is a bit too aggressive. You look at the minimap and see especially where Viper is. Nowhere near being able to follow up, but still, EDG, for some reason, think they need to get something out of this play. Flandre did just push in the wave top, so I think he felt pretty confident to get this one. So at least they do find a kill back, and didn't really lose anything, because sure, Flandre might have lost out a few minions up topside, but he's still up ahead about a full wave.
I love the attempt from Flandre there as well with the flash. He tries to flash at the same time as Gala so that the fear tether will continue through the flash. Gala flashes over the wall and Flandre tried to follow it. Didn't quite work out in the end, but I like the attempt there. I like right at the start of game number 1, trying to make those kind of plays are going to be the difference maker between getting momentum in this series. And I think that's going to be an important point moving forwards, is that EDG, in their series, 100% win rate on the blue side. They're on the blue side of the map. They started with this first pick, Nocturne. It's getting knocked away. Double mark here. That's a double lilting lullaby coming through. Jiejie can follow up onto Xiaohu, the fear being tethered in, but nice explosive cast to push him away. Jiejie following for more. Scouts here as well. In they go, trying to find the fight, but it's Jiejie to go down first. Wei getting out into the brush. And this is all going the way of RNG to start things off. Wei with a second kill. Scout getting chased over the wall. The Chaos Storm will finish the job alongside Xiaohu, and RNG take control.
And EDG getting a little baited there by RNG, trying to follow up. Xiaohu had already used the cast to disengage, but still, EDG keep going. You see the power of the amount of AoE and zone control coming out of their champions right now, right? Gragas, Barrel, EW, Olaf throwing the axes, and then Cryan's whole kit pretty much lending them to winning out that early skirmish.
And it's kind of crazy to see EDG overstepping in the early game like this. We're not used to EDG, first off, being an aggressive early game team generally. That's kind of a new thing in playoffs, but also overcommitting to plays like this.
And we saw here, especially I think one big thing to note is that Flandre already has to proc his spell shield. So when he does follow up with the fear here, you know, had he had that, he could have kept going. Maybe they get some more return damage onto Xiaohu. But they keep going forward, and sure, it is a bit of a numbers advantage at first, but Jiejie is just so squishy. We saw the amount of damage and AoE able to come out from both sides.
It's still going on. We're still fighting here. We can see Xiaohu's actually TP'd behind everything here. Doesn't have his ulti available. Bit of a waste of a TP. I'm not going to lie. Flandre's just got free time at the top side. Xiaohu with a bit of a blunder.
And this one is going to be felt a lot more than that last one, right? Because when Flandre had TP'd, he had at least pushed his wave in. He has an easier time getting up towards the top side of the map. Did pick up, actually didn't pick up an assist in that exchange, but popped a flash. This time around, Xiaohu's wave was already getting pushed in. He's losing a ton of experience. And also 3 turret plates on Flandre already.
That is insane. 3 plates for that play. And Flandre didn't really have to do anything to earn that. He's just the lucky benefactor. He's basically won the lottery up in the top side. 20 CS lead for himself. And now 3 plates on top of that as well. This is his lucky day. And remember, that Nocturne was the first pick. On blue side, this Nocturne first pick was not what we were expecting. But with that massive amount of gold, he's going to be close to finishing his mythic item at this point with the Iron Spike Whip there as well. Like, it feels real good to be Flandre on this map.
Especially when you have these types of compositions, the fact that you are getting your diver, the one who is going to be leading the charge a lot of the time ahead, it does feel like a necessary part as Jiejie
just flashes straight in and Flandre. It doesn't matter that he recalled because he's Nocturne. Jiejie gets the kill in the end, and Xiaohu, with no TP, has a 30-second death timer. Jiejie's already here on the top side of the map. I think this might be a tower finished off.
And we need to remember that this is not a tanky Gragas. He's going towards that Everfrost build, so very easily bursted coming out from the side of EDG. And it's just going to be more turret plates for Flandre, though Cryin is here.
Yeah, the mid laner from RNG moves up to try and defend that one. Scout can't do much about it in terms of pushing in the mid lane. So good defense here from RNG. EDG can't commit to finishing the tower. And importantly, Wei got the Rift Herald earlier on. So there is the option for now RNG to try and make a play with that Rift Herald somewhere to even up that gold a little bit. I'd love to see them try and get that gold onto Gala.
And this would also be a good time for the fact that Jiejie doesn't have a flash available. Scout's flash is still down as well. Paranoia is down. Galio flash is down. So in terms of summoners, in terms of ultimates, the side of RNG is winning out right now. So it definitely feels like the perfect time for RNG to force this dragon.
Yeah, so Wei can move straight on in there, clearing some vision. Now, obviously, EDG will have complete knowledge this is happening, but as you rightly say, with flashes down, with ultimates down, not really a good moment for them to fly. So RNG will grab themselves a second Drake. We're going to have a Mountain Soul coming onto the map when you've got things like an Olaf that can definitely feel real good for the side of RNG. It looks like Wei wants to go for a bit of an invade as well. The red buff about to spawn, or might just run straight towards this mid lane. Has that Herald. I think it was about to time out, so just wants to slam that one.
Really nice use of the gravity field there to zone Scout off as well. If he stays in that corridor, he's just going to take a bunch of punishment as he does take that E, and it's 2 more plates down for Cryin in the mid lane. And when we look at this mid lane matchup specifically, once it does get to this point, you know, Cryin getting a bit accelerated with those 2 kills, he will just be completely fine being able to clear out these waves. They shouldn't really have any kill pressure on the side of Scout. Scout, though, I do feel like there's more kill pressure there when he links up with jungle or support because he does have the option of engaging with that Shurima shuffle. And if Jiejie and Meiko are there to follow up, that is how they'd find a route of getting him back into the game and maybe helping him be able to match that pressure and wave clear coming out from Cryin.
Yeah, definitely feels like Cryin at the advantage right now, but that can certainly change over time. This is an Azir we're talking about, so once you get to a couple of items, you're still going to be a massive threat regardless. I do want to talk about the game plan here, though, for RNG. They're the ones in the driver's seat right now. What's the play to keep accelerating this? Because it feels like just stacking Drakes is obviously going to be a good point of call. But with a Nocturne Galio combo, can you really group up for those objectives?
I think actually grouping up is the best plan forward, right? Because if you keep the map split, you keep the map stagnant, that's where EDG are going to be able to find a lot of those pick potentials of attacking side lanes, attacking stragglers. So I like what Wei's doing now. Sure, he's posturing for a gank if Flandre does make a mistake. But for Wei, you just need to shadow your lane. Shadow your lanes, get some vision down, try to go where the globals are, which is a bit hard when you have a global on each side of the map for EDG, but get the defensive ward lines down and just try to counteract the aggressive plays coming out for EDG and play on that 5-minute timer with the dragons. You've already found yourself the lead. You want to group up as 5, and I don't know if EDG really have the damage right now, even if they do find that combo into your backline to take out a member, especially when all of RNG's carries have flashes up.
Well, if there's one thing I will say for EDG, it's that this playoffs, they have shown that they can get creative, both in champ select and in terms of play. We've seen a ton of insane moments from especially Scout. He's on this Azir that is an absolute comfort pick for him, not just this split, but historically. Flandre's locked up, though. That's a lot of damage out of Xiaohu on the AP Gragas. Now TP being channeled, though. This isn't a 1v1. Flandre's low. Scout arrives to save his top laner. 3v2, and EDG get away with it.
And I'm really curious how Flandre used his spell shield. I think he used it for the initial Q coming out from Xiaohu as another all-in happens.
Yeah, it looks like the back away from either side, though. It was a little dicey for a second, but Viper's going to get away with it. And let's just take a quick moment to look at the AD carries, actually, because Gala right now, almost 30 CS up on his lane counterpart.
And Munch, though, are we going to get something as Wei goes in?
It feels like this game is so much posturing, so much toying with the idea of these big fights, and nobody quite committing to the plays. Gala moves to this mid wave, trying to fight for priority. As the Herald has been started, Flandre knows about it, throws a Q in as RNG going to start this one off. Jiejie on a ward, clearing the vision right here. Lyric, we've got a 5v5 on our hands, I think, is in. Goes Scout, trying to get Gala, but Ming denies it. Flashes with a double pulverize. Viper is locked up and finished off immediately. Scout knocks him away, but all he does is play for safety here. Flandre can't go in. Scout now locked up with the Everfrost. Xiaohu outplays his opposing mid laner. And now the fight continues as EDG just have to flee for the hills.
And Ming was the true MVP of that play. You highlighted it. Scout tries to go in. The headbutt comes out, keeps him away, followed by the flash and the pulverize. And for EDG, I just don't think you can be looking for these kinds of engages. Scout is the one trying to find a pick. He sees that Gala and Ming, do slightly step forward, but flashes are still there on their side. The rest of EDG's members were on the other side of the choke, trying to posture for Herald, as we are going to see here. Just keep it on Ming. Headbutt comes out. Flash, double pulverize, like you said. And then the rest of the members from RNG are just able to follow up. Gala cleaning that first kill up nicely. Xiaohu still full HP, still has all his tools available. He gets locked down. We see the explosive cast come out. And this is why we said, hey, RNG's comp does feel a lot more comfortable when they are grouped up like this. But at the same time, again, that's not really how EDG can look for those engages. It needs to be Flandre. It needs to be Meiko.
And I have to say, I love that we get to see Xiaohu building AP this game. I know a lot of people aren't fans of the AP Gragas, but I feel like Scout versus Xiaohu is the real mid lane matchup that I'm watching in this game, even if they're not both in the mid lane. So I'm glad that Xiaohu is on the classic AP mid laner of the Gragas. Drake coming up, though. This is their third one. RNG would love to get themselves onto Soul Point, and it looks like EDG not actually willing to fight at all.
I mean, they know at this point in time they still aren't strong enough to test with RNG in these types of fights. They're going to go look at trade side, get some pressure and advantage on the opposite side of the map as Jiejie is starting Herald. It does look like Scout should be also to take that top turret. But I'm going to go back to a point you made about Xiaohu on Gragas because, top lane Gragas, I think a very contentious pick, does get a lot of hate about how it is played. But my biggest problem with Gragas is we see a lot of people pick and build AP Gragas, but then still play him like a frontliner. I think the game that 369 had against EDG is the one that comes out to my mind the most, where he's consistently trying to engage, be a frontliner, come in on flanks, and then always just gets instantly picked off. If you're going to build AP Gragas and build this Everfrost route, you do need to play him as this, pick, kind of rotating with pressure, ceasing someone out and bursting them out champion, because that is what he is.
Yeah, you're certainly not going to offer the front line. And I think certainly in the LPL, we've seen a ton of the AP Gragas. It feels like when we see Gragas top, it's more often the AP than the tank route these days, which, love it or hate it, doesn't matter. This is what the players like to play. LPL's kind of notorious for not necessarily building the way that the rest of the world likes to build. Morella Nomicon comes to mind, for example. So definitely, it's a pick that's here to stay. It's a pick that Xiaohu's very comfortable on. And so far in this game, it's a pick that he's showing he is incredibly competent.
And it definitely helps out with, again, that he understands his role in this composition, that the rest of RNG's comp are also finding advantages on the members that it needs to, right? I mean, you look at the kill spread, 3 onto Cryin, 2 onto Gala, exactly where it needs to be. We also have some defensive stats already being built onto Wei. So again, EDG's composition right now is very burst reliant. I think some of the strongest members as of now are Flandre and Jiejie. That's not really going to come across or show in these early skirmishes. But let's see if they can pick something up with this Herald, or if this is just going to come to them walking into topside river and trying to get some more vision control.
Yeah, this should be the... Oh, hang on. Ming goes in here. Wei's there. It's just to try and force them away. Actually protects the tower, kind of. It's not about what HP. It will go down at some point, regardless. In fact, I think... Oh, the minions finished off a tower elsewhere on the map, actually. I think that was the bot lane tower that went down to minions. As that mid lane tower does survive. Importantly, though, Lyric, we're almost 2.5 minutes away from the next Drake. That's Soul Point. It's going to be like a 22-minute Soul right here for RNG if they can get this next Drake. With how much scaling is on the side of EDG, RNG are not looking to give them any time to get to that lane.
And for the side of EDG, this is where we need to start seeing some of the plays we talked about earlier, where, again, you're going to put Flandre in a side lane. I'd actually like to see Viper and Meiko in the opposite side lane instead of Scout. And then you pull the members of EDG apart. Once they're showing on waves, you start grouping towards mid, getting that offensive vision down, and looking to use your globals to find those picks. Because thus far, we've kind of just seen, hey, they default the sides, they kind of ping-pong them back and forth, push them out, and then EDG still just group up as a 5-man unit. And especially in that last Herald fight was where we saw, hey, it looks like they're not sure of how they should be looking for this fight, who they should be going on, and they were really just trying to wait out a mistake from RNG.
Yeah, it feels like trying to bait and counter-engage with things like that Galio, right? And Scout, already this game has shown very proactive with the ultimates. It's not worked out any of the times that we've seen it so far, but showing that, you know, his mechanics are on point today. He's certainly going to be able to find these ultimates if someone mispositions. But that's one of the things about RNG is when they have been playing well, when they get ahead, they're incredibly good at not overstepping. One of the things we've credited RNG for all year long is that they're an intelligent team. They understand what their opponents want to do and play around those facts well.
That's the big thing, right, is even though RNG did usually find early gold leads, they weren't like a super aggressive team. It wasn't about like chain ganking and just stacking these up through like laning phases. It was more coordinated, more intelligent again. Come off of the wave where Ming and Gala push out, rotating up topside, get a kill. Next few minutes, kind of repeat the play or look to utilize Cryin in some way. But every time RNG is able to get that early advantage, they've done a really good job at holding on to it and slowly expanding on it, because they're a team who very clearly understands this meta of like, hey, we're playing around 5-minute windows for these neutral objectives.
Yeah, and one of those windows coming up 30 seconds until the Mountain Drake. For EDG fans watching, and I know there's a lot of them based on my Twitter feed this morning, what do they need to be able to get this fight on their side?
For EDG, it just goes back to what I pointed out only 2 minutes ago, right? Is trying to pull some of the members of RNG apart. If they do find an engage, it's like, hey, you're running into Wei, you're not going to be able to CC him down with the Ragnarok. Cryine's going to have a lot of like zone control and peel once he drops that gravity field or his ultimate. We saw what Ming can do if he gets onto a target. But if EDG look for the engage, again, I think Flandre needs to lead the charge. Meiko needs to follow up with the ultimate. Viper and Scout kind of on the back line, with Jiejie providing a bit of peel through his Q and his ultimate.
All right. Well, Flandre is going to be on a ward. Goes into the back line. Here comes the Galio. It's a bit of a knock-up, but it's not enough damage here. Cryin almost finishes off Flandre. In the meantime, the Dragon down to half. Scout goes for the ulti. Onto Wei, but he doesn't have the damage. Just gets 1v1'd in the pit. Flandre's forced out. This will be Drake for RNG. That's a Mountain Soul.
And this is going to be so tough for EDG to come back from now. It might not be a massive gold lead, but 2 members down for EDG. This should also be a Baron for the side of RNG.
Slow, cautious play coming out here from RNG, but playing it perfectly, playing it accurately, knowing exactly what EDG have to do. RNG goes straight onto the Baron. You know, Meiko, he's going to try and make an attempt here. I don't see any universe where him and Viper alone can stop this one. The Baron goes down, and RNG are miles ahead now of where they were a couple of minutes ago.
And now they're going to feel fine with, you know, again, pretty much any map state. I don't think they need to really fear the pressure of side lanes too much coming out from EDG. You don't necessarily want to go into a 1-3-1 because the paranoia and the heroic entrance can still, you know, provide a lot of threat. But For RNG, the plan is simple. Push out your side, screw mid. And we're going to go into the replay and see here. Keep your eye on Jiejie because we started like, hey, we want to see this Nocturne go in with the Galio. I don't necessarily think Jiejie should be flashing in here. He goes for it, tries to find a massive sleep, does ultimately end up going down. Sure, they force Gala out of the fight early on, but the smite comes out from Wei. He's also able to take down Scout. And Cryin on the opposite side was dishing out pure DPS the whole time.
Yeah, and Scout is having a really rough game on this Azir. It has to be said, 0-3. And we've seen him go for plays. It's not like he's been quiet. It's not like he's not been trying to get into the fights. But nothing has quite worked for EDG this game. And that's a surprising thing to say when you consider... Oh, hang on. I'm going to hold that thought. Look where Scout is right now. Secret agent on a mission. It is time for EDG to make a play to try and turn this game around. TP comes in. Scout's behind them. Onto Cryin with the Emperor's Divide. Cryin is caught. Has a Zhonya's though to keep himself alive. Flandre doesn't quite have the damage. Finally finishes that one off, but it's 1-for-1. That's not good enough for EDG. And now they're getting chased down and cut down where they stand. RNG have none of it.
EDG try to abuse one of the things they can, which is Cryin having no flash. They look for that play. They need to try and find any small advancement or punishment that they can. But the stopwatch bought so much time, the rest of RNG are able to follow up. And Wei right now is even massive, just able to find that kill on Flandre himself.
Yeah, really beautiful stuff coming out from RNG. And I'm amazed how effectively they were able to answer that play. It felt like EDG had all the puzzle pieces placed together. They'd managed to sneak Scout in. They'd managed to try and make a play that RNG weren't going to be ready for. But maybe there is no play that RNG aren't going to be ready for. We talked about them as an intelligent team. They read EDG like a book. And now they can take everything off of the map. Look at the gold lead. 6,000 in favor of RNG. They've already got the soul. Elder's coming up in 3 minutes. We're only 26 minutes into the game.
And it goes back to the point you made about any time all of us have been on the same page about a result. Kind of sadly goes the opposite way. But, you know, we have seen some things in this series. I think Wei stepping up, like we pointed out, he has to be a key player for the side of RNG. They used some of the early pressure. They were able to get through bottom lane well with the jungle pathing that was brought out. And they just stuck to the game plan, just consistently playing off dragon timers. They weren't even necessarily ever being the ones to be the aggressors. They were really just punishing a lot of the aggressive moves that EDG themselves were making.
Oh, Meiko stepped a little too far forward here. He's caught. That is a beautiful combo from Xiaohu. My goodness. There's nothing Meiko can do about that one.
Just getting caught out a bit too overextended. We're at the point in the game where we can be like, hey, how do EDG get back into this game? But we all know the answer, right? RNG need to make some mistakes. They need to walk in. They need to run it down a little bit. Maybe we can see some cheeky brush plays coming out from EDG. Maybe try to pick up a kill here or there. But ultimately, the choices are still in RNG's hands.
Here's the thing. Blue side has been 100% win rate in the LPL recently. And EDG are on that blue side. So while it may look completely dire for them, it may look like RNG have got this first game in the bag. EDG are on that blue side, and there seems to be some kind of magic going on with that side of the map. So maybe that's some kind of miracle that could occur for them. I don't think that point makes any sense. But at this point, if you're an EDG fan in this game, you got to believe in superstition. I think that's the only way you're coming back into this one. One important thing to mention, Viper's on 3 items on that Tristana. It, interestingly, has finished 3 full items before completing his boots, which is not something we see very often in the current map.
No, and, you know, maybe it's a byproduct of also just falling behind so much that, you know, feeling he'd step up and be that big damage dealer. Because one problem I have with EDG's comp at this point in time is, like, when their comp is set up to have this diving duo, the problem is, like, they have Mountain Soul, they have 2 mountains, they have an Ocean Drake. I don't think you have the burst to go for the play that your comp is set up to make anymore.
Yeah, that's one of the big issues, right, is Flandre wants to jump in and try and one-shot someone, try and burst down the backline while Meiko comes in and Scout can slide in as well. Like, the goal is just single someone out and one-shot them. But when they're so tanky by default, and then you've got items across the board here, like pretty much everyone hitting 3 items, or at least all the carries hitting 3 items from RNG, it feels kind of impossible to go for those plays. And RNG can just play this slow, or not. They could just one-shot Viper instead. Why play it slow when Viper steps up in front of you? And now easy team fights. Gala's free firing on the backside. Scout gets an ultimate on just Ming, who already has his ult. Ticket away. Gala gets himself another couple. So does Wei. The double-double coming through. RNG are here to play.
And it's crazy, Munchables, because it wasn't like a really fast, bloody game, but it was a very dominant, decisive, and controlled game coming out from RNG in Game 1.
And I think really importantly, this is still RNG not necessarily just playing towards that top side like we saw all season, right? We came in and we were criticizing them for not just counter-picking for Xiaohu all the time. They went for the counter pick for Cryin here. They played towards the bot side, and it's worked out beautifully for them. The Nexus will fall, and RNG start the lower bracket final off in style.
Just really good stuff coming out from RNG, so seems like we are going to get, maybe more of a series than some of us expected. Not to jinx it for RNG, because, this could very well be dominant in their favor, but when we look at the drafts, I think it was a very interesting dynamic coming out, right? We saw, again, this kind of more like 5v5 death ball comp. We know what RNG wants to do. EDG, who have a bit more options in terms of how they can play out the map, how they want to play out side lanes. They want to make the map big, pull people apart, find some of these picks, get their Nocturne ahead, get their Lillia ahead, and start having these divers who can get on the backline, burst them out while you allow Scout and Viper to do their job on the backline. But problem was, we saw very early on, they weren't finding the picks they needed. They were actually running into losing scenarios, like when we saw the first initial one around Rift Herald, where they chase out, it was Xiaohu and Wei. They get baited in. We see a nice flash coming from Cryin, and so much AoE, so much damage. They all get bursted out. And then just Ming. I think Ming performed exceptionally. That one play around the Rift Herald as well, where he headbutts and then finds the flash double pulverize. Just beautiful.
Yeah, Ming playing absolutely amazingly. And remember, he's one of the veteran players that we've got to be looking at. He's one of the MSI champions on the server today. And it feels like he is coming to play. Again, this series means so much for these two teams. And I mean, when you look at the damage numbers across the board are very low because we really didn't see that much fighting. We really didn't see that much action. This was all about RNG playing the map intelligently, controlling the map, and not allowing EDG to enact their win condition.
That's the big thing, because again, think about this past 30 minutes. It's like, in the first 15 minutes of the game, I really can't think of too many aggressive plays that RNG themselves made. We saw many times Wei shadowing lanes, putting down vision, realizes, hey, my bot lane is pushed right now. We're going to convert this into a dragon. Hey, maybe we have a TP here. We're going to convert this into something else. Our bot lane is pushed, move them up towards topside, get Herald. And then it was constantly EDG who felt forced to look for a lot of these plays. So the fact that RNG can come in so calm, so cool, so decisive, and then, like you said, win a game on red side, I think is a good sign.
Yeah, changing things up a little bit here in the LPL. And I think it's a really important point you bring up about the junglers, because when you look at these two junglers, even statistically, like Wei's most impressive stat, he's #1 in the entire league for vision score difference, which is not a stat that is talked about very often. It's something that we brought up with SOFM a couple of times because he plays crazy things like Kane with the Umbral Glaive first item just so he can completely dominate the vision score game. But Wei actually, especially with Ming, we talked about that duo just moving around the map and controlling vision together. That's one of the things that Wei brings to the table. And I feel like this is a game where we've really seen that. He was in control of vision in the right areas of the map and stopping EDG having the freedom to make the plays that they wanted to. Because when you're running a composition with things like the Nocturne, you want to be able to make surprise plays, right? You want to be able to catch people off guard. But when RNG control the map in this way and have complete vision in the way that they did, it's incredibly difficult to find an opportunity.
I like that you're highlighting the vision point. Again, he completely, dominated in that regard. I think he was mostly in the right place at the right time. And then every time Jiejie's Lillia decided to just run into him, he's an Olaf, she's a Lillia. He just completely dominated him, and I think very good game coming out from Wei.
Man with axe, stronger than deer. Who could have believed it? We're going to jump to a quick break, and we'll be back with game number 2 between EDG and RNG.